Hey, all right, guys, welcome back to yet another podcast. This week in the podcast, we have wonderful guest, one of my best buddies of all time, great magician. I know him from the Amsterdam show. I met him the first time together with Michael Vincent, and I think he has some very interesting things to tell us about teaching magic and why we should teach magic to the whole world. It's Aljaž. So Aljaž, how are you today?
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm doing good. It's morning. I've been up for about an hour and editing our first official podcast till 4 in the morning last night or this morning.
Mm.
But you know how it is. We're working hard. Trying to remember where my camera is. Okay, it's here. Okay.
It's there. Yeah, you found it.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to the podcast host that doesn't know where his camera is.
I'm getting good at it. We have to just keep doing it, and we'll get good at it.
Right.
Well,
So,
so Rico knows you very well because you are friends. You had a friendship, a long friendship. But I met you like a year ago, or something like that. So my first question is quite easy. How do you define yourself as a person in the magic world or as a magician? How do you define yourself?
That's a good question. Thank. I mean, I would definitely say I would define myself twice as a magician. Every time I'm in front of, let's say, a lay audience or somebody who's interested, I would say I'm a different type of magician than with even as a character or as a person. Especially how I'm trying to perform in a sense and not be too myself because I'm very, very, let's say, I try to think about all different stuff, learn all the time. I'm interested, very scatterbrained. And when I perform, I try to kind of channel that energy and not be that much like scattered, but try to stay myself as a person who's passionate and tries to share moments with people. But then, being with magicians or people who are actually interested in learning magic, I kind of become, let's say, I would at this moment define it an open book and a helping hand. Whatever somebody that if I know something and if I can help you with something, I would definitely just stop almost everything I'm doing and in that moment and try to help you. And that's why Rico mentioned something about we're going to talk about teaching magic as well. That's something I'm passionate about. So in that sense, I would define myself as kind of like let's say a teacher, but I don't see myself that way personally. I would more as a guide, friend, mentor, whatever you want to call it, like, because I heard you guys discussing in the podcast the difference between a mentor and a teacher. I try to always be mentoring even those students who are they call me just a teacher. I try to be a mentor to all of them. So that would be kind of a general two explanations of me as a magician. But, I always say that I try to be a person first. Whatever I do, I try to get better and what I think I should do better as a person to myself and others. So
how do you then make the differentiation between a mentor and a teacher? Like, what does that mean for you?
well, I kind of very agree much with the sentiment you guys were talking about in the sense that the mentor would try to, teach the person everything they are as a person themselves and what their values are and what they look at as in life and and try to guide that person almost as a parental kind of just not that I'm a parent, but just with the actual intent as well, with the intent of being wholesome with your teaching, whatever you have knowledge that you think you can pass on with whatever subject you touch on, even if you're teaching somebody mathematics or you're, like if you have a student, you try to, at least I would think so, that you would try to get that human element into it. And yeah.
Do you have an example of how you implement that in your teaching?
That's a good question. Like, I would say definitely, and I because I say I prepare myself for everything. I try to practice and rehearse, but in the moment, I try to forget everything, and I really find myself jazzing up my lessons as well, and then making notes afterwards. Oh, I could do this better and prepare better for next time. But then every lesson, I'm just so So let me give you one example that I can think of now is like any time in a routine, especially with beginner students, where you're, you know, either something that's new or if it's in a routine where it's something they're struggling with. Let's say it would be, let's say they can't, it's a beginner issues, let's say. You give them a task to look at the bottom card, right? And we know like the tendency of you try to look inside, you know, so giving them here always a reminder going back to saying, look, you're trying to be a person who's talking to somebody. Don't pay attention to the cards. It's very important. So when you're talking to somebody and if you're gesturing with your hand, you can gesture to give you the cards to somebody in the line of sight. You look at whatever let's say if you ask them to put their hand out, you will ask them this, and in the line of sight, you will look at the card on the bottom. And that's, you know, to me, okay, we are talking about technique here, specifically like how to put your hand and where, but in that moment, I take a chance to explain again to the student or the first time that you as a, don't, I'm telling you the technique, you're going to look at the hand, but we try to overcome that, you know, sensation of, I'm doing something new, I have to pay attention to it. So that's why I remind them, practice, practice, practice. And that's the hugest thing in magic for me, to always remind students that, or anybody who's learning with me, that if you keep repeating and keep repeating, you will learn from your mistakes if you're in the moment and trying to get better at something. And if you're critical to yourself at whatever you do, even if it's just looking at the card on the bottom of the deck, which seems like a trivial thing, you notice in the performance, if you don't want to get caught doing it, you have to start, you know, going backwards. And those are kind of moments where I will take like 5-10 minutes for a certain thing. If I see the student is struggling with this move, I will go away from the move and have a talk with them about, you know, why I think just, you know, get out of your practice mode and just be here in the moment. And right now I'm explaining to you about, okay, forget about what we're doing. We're talking about being a person, doing something with an intent on the outside. And, you know, that's kind of an example I would think of at this moment. But I could probably find a better one, you know.
Well, yeah, but it's a good one, because it sounds to me like you're teaching someone to self-reflect, to do something and to then think about, well, but why did you do that? Or rather, okay, that went wrong. They saw you looked at the bottom card. So what can you do next time to not do that? And then you can transfer those skills also to other parts in life.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, exactly. I try to, you know, I'm not claiming that I'm, you know, like doing anything revolutionary in as far as teaching. My wife is a professional pedagogue, learning, you know, I'm learning so much from her when she was teaching students piano, singing, and also you were one of the students as well. I remember talking to her about, you know, how it's going and what she's doing with that specific issues that you had, and it's like, yeah, that I've learned so much, and I always say this to my students as well, you know. Thank you for being a student with me. I've learned so much, you know, like, and sometimes, especially younger kids look at me, what are you talking about? What you've learned from me, you know, like, but I really, really mean it, because, you know, in the last, you know, 3-4 years when I've been really active with teaching in the European school here in The Hague, the after school activity program, there's been so much experience. And I think I've grown so much as a person, trying to teach in general and trying to be communicated with the one-on-one with the students. Even though we have group lessons, you try to see each individual, like interest of a child. Some child would really like a clownish kind of act or magic. Some children you can see even at 8-9 years old, they like finger flicking or move monkey stuff, you know, like the strike vanish. You show it to them, you know, like when they're getting good at like hiding coin or finger palm, you know, let's try the strike vanish, and you teach it, and you can see the lights, and they just in a corner somewhere, everybody's paying attention to you doing something else. You're maybe going forward already, and this 1 or 2 students will be like bum, and trying it and trying it and trying and trying it. So I kind of make mental notes and trying to guide, okay, I see what that person likes, and try to, you know, that's for me the biggest issue right now in teaching, trying to find a way, because I think magic is very individual, you know, and how to identify groups, you know, how to make it for most of them that they would be interested in the classes, and making little small groups of tasks and splitting up, you know, in the middle of the lesson, and stuff like that, to make, especially with the younger children, making it more interesting and dynamic. And
So
Yeah.
let's back up a little bit because you
Hmm.
because we both know what you're doing, but for the people listening that don't know, like what are you talking about? Like
Oh,
what
yeah,
teaching the
yeah, yeah.
kids? What are you doing?
It's a good segue to go back because I've been trying to do this for many years as I've been passionate about teaching whatever I know. But magic is a strong skill, so I've been sending emails about 5 6 years ago. I started sending emails to international schools because I heard they have like after school programs where they teach all sorts of arts and crafts and Lego and dancing. I'm like, and I'm thinking, why is not magic there? Like, as an option. I'm like, and I'm the more I was thinking, the more it was logical. Nobody in the magic community wants to teach anybody in the public sense. In a sense, I understand why. You don't want to, with the mentality of saying magicians are keeping secrets and that's the main value and we're selling those. They're trying to keep the public away from the stores and from the
Mm.
where everything is like so I started thinking more about sending emails back and forth, and it was quiet for quite a, let's say, a year and a half. And I was sending every year, the beginning of the school year, end of the school year, sometimes in the middle, going personally there, asking, introducing myself, who I am and what I'm doing, and what my goal is. And my goal was always to introduce to the schools that I want to teach through magic life skills that I think that, like any art form can teach them. Not any, a lot of art form like music and like both brains start to work when you have to practice. Also with magic, you have to and then public speaking, attention to detail, then the persistence, social skills, which we are sometimes learning through magic if you're an awkward person or shy or introverted. So all that stuff became like, to me, every time I wrote it, I became better at sending, my message to the schools a bit clearer, what I want to do, and cutting out all the meat and just being clear. And then after a year and a half, I had a lucky break, which I think a lot of times we have to have. Uh, while you're trying your hardest to do something, you have to realize that it might not work, or you might just be keep grinding in this level. And I had a lucky break where the school called me. It was the European School of the Hague here, and they said, "Hey, we have a teacher that we couldn't agree with the times anymore, and then she wasn't consistent, and she was teaching some art class, so we would like you to try for a semester." So I prepared a whole lesson plan and everything. They wanted me to let them in on what I'm doing, and then we started with three months of the. I had a group of 5 students, and that was in 2017. Um, and then it gained like 3 semesters. Every semester, the parents have to then decide again, are the students going to go? And most of them would go, let's say, stay with me in that small group and get a little bit more students. And then some would go away the next semester, come back. And in 2 years, just before Corona, it grew into 6 groups. Sorry, not six, 5 groups, where we had 4 days at the junior school, at the primary school, from ages 10 to 13, and also some of the smaller ones. But then one more group in the secondary. So that was a big break. But then just before I got the biggest student and everything was starting to grow, the Corona came, and the students had to go everything online, and immediately 50% of students was, of course, overloaded with the online stuff, and magic was also online, so that kind of cut off most of my, let's
Mm.
say, revenue. But that's why I'm just trying to take the time and really work on myself as well and get everything around. You guys inspired me with your Patreon as well. We talked about it as well. And I've been having my eyes on Patreon as well, trying to get a community going there as well. But I think just for me personally, I want to have so much stuff on there, like from the Aljaž Originals project to the beginner courses of card magic, coin magic, and we're going to do hopefully some collaborations. But that's what I'm doing basically, just going back and forth with students and trying to learn how to teach as much as I can while while growing this thing. And as we're going into this more next period of coming back to schools, I really in September want to kind of launch this public idea of, maybe it's going to be a bit controversial, but I don't really care, because I believe that magic should be even at least an option for most people to try to learn as young, whenever they are at school or outside school, and that we would have people who care about magic and care about the kids actually teaching, or even just adults, doesn't matter, whoever is, you know. I have a couple students who are my age or a bit older as well, and doesn't matter. It's all about, you know, person to person interaction, and I just want to keep doing it. The more I do it, the more I want to keep doing it and getting better at it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have, for example, in magic literature, like different books to learn magic: the Royal Road to Card Magic, the Hogarth's collection. We have the expert card technique, and in Spanish we have like different books. So the question is, do you think is it possible to create like a system, or do you think every person needs its own system? Because I've been teaching magic, and well, I have my own opinion, but I would love to know your opinion. And well, I guess people want to know your opinion as well, because you are the guest today. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I would always refer, first of all, like, I think Joshua J says is the best, and I've read so many, like, from Tarbell to, I mean, at least Justification. Also, Mark Wilson's course, you know, is really good. But Joshua J's course, to me, it just kind of like brought a sense of, oh, I wanted to have this kind of book with the video and explanation and the book. I was like, oh, this is so cool. So I started reading. When I read that intro where he says, teaching magic, you know, is a thin line between exposing and teaching, and he makes the distinction that it's effort. Right, and effort from both sides of the one that's teaching. Let's say you write a book, you do it your best way, that you explain everything, the details, that you know how to do this the best way you know how to do it, and you write with all the intention and effort to make it as clear for the one who's reading it. And then you have the effort on the side of the one who either works and gets money to buy that book. That's the effort already, to get the money to buy the book, and then opening the book, reading through it, they're putting an effort into something, practicing, and that is already gone. Where you have both of these things going together, exposure is gone, and you have come to teaching. But it has to come from both ways. So I mean, when we're teaching and selling magic in books and DVDs, and even with lessons, private lessons, where, you know, monetizing certain, I have a lot of issues myself, thinking like how I contacting as much people as I can when I think this is not mine to teach, or I try to go as much as I can into the public domain, because there's so much there to learn from. And I think, yeah, personally, teaching, yeah, in that sense, yeah, you know, it's a delicate question always, you know, with magic, like teaching, exposing, well, how much should we do it? And I always, like with Rico, when we had this conversation, this is now always for me a reference to at least the magicians, when they start doubting, oh, should we teach people in a public forum, you know, like the basic secrets of magic, or and Rico knows this book. I think you know, it's called Our Magic by Mescaline and Devant.
yeah, of course.
And in
we
the
had,
intro,
we had many conversations about this, me and Ovo. Go on.
yes,
I love it.
Yes, and you know, it struck me because I've never read the whole book, and I've heard about it, and I've never went into it. Now I've just been reading excerpts and different passages, but the intro where he talks about that he hopes, or they hope, that in the future the man in the streets will be aware that the magic, you know, the secrets are to the magician no more than, you know, like the wigs and makeup are to the actor. There's so much more to magic than the appliances and processes, and you know, and that's why I'm just so shocked that the magician was thinking this 110 years ago, wrote it down, published it, and we have, I think, gone not towards that goal, but away from it in the recent, you know, decades or so, even 50 years. So I'm very passionate in that idea that if a magician gets to an audience who all of them know some basic idea about what magic is and what it takes to perform good magic, and what is good magic, that it's not just, you know, like just some boxes, and if they put let's say a year or a couple of months, even just only like with one semester, what I try to do with one semester of beginners because I'm aware that most of them will go away, especially the way I present magic, that it's not easy, that they have to practice, and that it's like, and I structured my whole course in a way, I'm not doing it for money. I'm just trying to present magic the way that it should be presented, in my view, that it's not something everybody can do. Although everybody can do it, but it takes a certain person. It's just like, you know, being an electrician or a computer scientist. It takes a person who wants to do that and gets so much deep and sees a bigger picture, what he can help with the world. So that, to me, there's no distinction
Or even a
for
pianist or guitarist, right?
exactly, like, yeah, like, why not magic, in a sense, like, because then you can have an audience who can respect. Like, I play guitar personally, and I'm okay with it after 15 years of self-taught playing. uh, I, I would say, you know, I'm kind of like a mid-range guitar level, but when I see somebody playing guitar on a different level, not even technically, just with the creativity, or, you know, like I'm just like, wow. And I respect, and I personally, I feel that I respect it more because I've put so much effort into learning guitar. Like, even if I just tried it for a year or two, maybe I would respect it even more if I gave up on the guitar. And because I knew it was so hard, it was too hard for me, and I just can't get it to a certain level. And then I see Stevie Ray or whoever play, and I'm like, okay, I get it. This is not for me, but I will definitely, wow, you know. So in this moment, I can also relate back to our magic book, where he said the best audience we can have as a magician is a room full of magicians, which nowadays I would disagree, in a sense, because everybody's so, it's new, it's so critical about, because I think the magicians in general we have to come to a critical mass. Like, if you remember the book of the Celestine Prophecy that we read,
Mm.
where he has this, the first chapter is titled Critical Mass, where the idea of the consciousness of awareness of people about a certain thing has to come to a critical mass, that let's say, we magicians, there's not so many of us, that we're not even to the point of so many people as just magicians, that we could even think about a critical mass of anything in the world. So how are we going to get people to you know, in the world, in general population, to get to a critical mass of thinking, that to get the shift of the population there? Okay, we now know what magic is. It's not about the secret. It's not, let's go and enjoy this crazy visual show that we can't get anywhere else, or mentally breaking, or whatever, you know, the show is. So I truly believe that we should just start sharing more and more to the public. Not, you know, like secrets, like, you know, every little detail about, you know, this, that, just, you know, going through all the books, like we talk, just our magic, just read our magic, you know, like, or go teach subjects in it. You know, if you know the students are not going to read it, you go and read it. If you want to be a teacher, if you want to get people to respect magic more, and just go and pick up stuff that they're public domain, and get deep into it before you get even to the, you know, serious stuff of professional working magicians, you know. So
But
yeah.
that's the interesting thing, right? That at least in my experience, like, I see the people that respect magic the most, that are not magicians, are usually my roommates. Or the people that are like really close to me, because
Mm-hmm.
at one point they say, oh, I thought magic was just I have a good example. We used to work together with a guy. He's a good friend of me now, and he's like very like, he has two masters in law, and he's like very like in his head, and he's like really good in thinking, and if he reads a book he remembers everything, and he's like constantly conceptualizing the whole world.
Yeah.
And in the beginning he was like, I hated magic. He hated magic because he was like, yeah, but I don't understand it, and I want to know. But then after a while, he was like, he saw how much books I had and the things that went into it, and I even sometimes he was like, oh, but how does that work? Like, do you do this? And then if he said hit it right, like, yeah, do this, look, cause this and this, and now you can see it, now you
Yeah.
cannot see it. And after a while, he started to be like really respectful, like, whoa, it's like a craft. Like, I didn't know magic went so deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now he's even to a point where he says, I don't even want to know how it works anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to see it because I lost this feeling of childlike wonder. Like, you gave me
Mm-hmm.
back something I lost.
Amazing. That's what I mean. I'm right now. I'm getting shivers. It's amazing. No, I mean, really, because I mean, we are in a sense, most of us who are magicians, we are, if we are like passionate and artistic in a little bit way. We are kind of like sensitive. We're sensitive people, and it's not like, you know, the word sensitive was always a bit for me. What is that? I'm not sensitive, and I'm tough. I mean, you know, nobody can, you know, I won't cry, you know, I'm being a man, you know, whatever it is, you know, but being sensitive, you know, in the sense of feeling stuff, hearing, being open to ideas, and in that sense, yeah, sometimes you can get hurt by yourself or others just because you're so open to feelings and interpretation of whatever, and yeah, as a magician, we have to have tough skin. I think just now when we had with Fritz podcast, which will be coming out in September, I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, that was the conversation. You know, it's that if you're scared of getting, you know, like, oh, I saw this, you know, most of the time they don't see nothing, they just want to say it or whatever. You know, you have to get some tough skin through and get through that, you know, or saying, hey, you want to see some magic? Now, get away, man, get what you do. You know, like those kind of reactions, you know, like, and that's, you know, like any job where you're trying to find or any skill you're trying to attain, you're going to come to rejection, failure. And then, oh, I did something. Oh, that was good. Oh, that was a nice feeling. And you're chasing that little thing again. And then you, again, and yeah, that's that. You know, I know that most people, you know, there's a lot of people who wouldn't feel magic would be that thing for them to learn about life and the way you used to see the world. But I believe that if more people start to see it that way, not just, you know, learning tricks and principles to fool somebody with, then we'll all be in a better. So that's why I put the title of the article that I'm writing, Magic to the Rescue. But I kind of went a little bit back on that track, kind of. You'll see the title in a few days. I'll send it to you on the 24th. 24th. Okay, tomorrow is that, right? That's tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow. Yeah. One day before the deadline. Good.
Yeah, well, I'm so bad. But thank you for giving me deadlines. I'm really bad with them. But yeah, we need them.
I know.
but there is something. Well, maybe we can get confused about the maybe the interest of the person, you know. But there is something, for example, I'm a Spanish teacher as well, and since the first day I can really figure out if person, you know, in the first lesson is going to be a dedicated person or not, you know. And I have like some students, for example, my newest student has learned 10 lessons what took to others like 1.5 year, you know. And it's awesome, you know, and I have had this kind of students in magic as well, you know. And this is important as well, because the difference between someone who just wants to have a contact with magic or someone who really wants to get into magic, you know. It's like, as Kanye used to say, like, if you really want to know about magic, you have to get obsessed, you know. You have to drink of magic with magic, you know. You have to get up and you have to have, you know, like the deck of cards next to you, and you have to go in the tube with the coins on your pockets, and you have to have the hands, and so so it isn't like an imposition. It has to be like a natural impulsion, you know. Impulse, you know. And I think you can really feel it as a professor, you know, as a teacher, and I can feel it. So have you had like many experiences in teaching magic in the last year?
Well, in the last year, I had 6 students stay with me, who students that have been with me. Like, those are the students that you mentioned that have been from the beginning practicing or passionate, or you can see them evolve immediately better than the others, or just progressing from much faster. And those have been with me, luckily, for like also their parents supporting and like what I'm doing, and especially the supporting material in the background, and keep, you know, getting them interested in every lesson. But that in that sense, I've been lucky. But I'm aware now, going back to school when it opens in September, hopefully, that 80 to 90% of students are basically there for the interest of magic, and I'm trying to get, you know, and I'm trying to get them, you know, kind of get that magic bug to kind of like see where that click would be, if it would be, for what would kind of be the magic of, like, let's say, tunnel, where they would be like, oh, this is something I want to do. But a lot of them will just see after my lessons of 3, like, we have 12 to 11 to 12 lessons each semester, and usually after the middle of the semester, I can kind of see which ones are not going to stay with me anymore. Because I do not give up on the seriousness of it as well, although we're having so much fun. But I, get into their, let's say, a little bit of psyche that, yeah, this is the beginning of it, but it doesn't look good yet. Like, you have to keep doing it. But yeah, I give them a good motivation. Oh, now it's getting so much better, but do this and that, and now it still doesn't look okay. And and a lot of them will get frustrated because, like you said, if they don't go home and don't practice at home, and they're not really students, they're just little kids running around and going to magic class and then forgetting about it. And it's frustrating when you have to, like, almost be, every time they're with you, you're starting again, like, almost, and trying to push. So those are frustrating, of course, but I keep keep an open mind, in a sense. Look, just try to get there as a mentor, or as a teacher, to try to see if you can get that spark going. And hopefully, even if they get out there after one semester and they don't want to do magic anymore, at least they will have the right idea why they don't want to do magic, because this is not so easy. This is not what I thought it was. It needs dedication. It needs and yeah, let other people do it. I'm interested in other stuff, so that's fine by me. And hopefully this person, when they will grow up, they will remember these certain moments of me expressing so much passion towards magic and showing them good magic and entertaining magic, serious, funny, whatever it is, that they will, as a grown person, maybe come into contact with a magician and be just like, okay, and enjoy and remember what it was, and not be like trying to look for the secret or even be, because they were learning magic, be like, oh, I know how you did that. I have this big thing in the first beginner lessons, like, every lesson that we have, and we learn something new. I said, you are not smarter now than anybody else. Well, you know this, right? You have to not think that because you know this, you are now smart. And and if you see a magician performing and he does it well, but you know how it's done, don't you dare scream out, as a magician by hobby, I know how that's done, because that moment you lose all your credibility with me, and you're not a magician for me anymore. I mean, I can go. I have different speeches to kids that I just say in the moment, something like that. But I'm very serious about, especially in the first classes when people just come and go, that I'm kind of like, I'm teaching this because I love it and I'm passionate. And if you learn anything, I want you to respect it and not just think that you're now smarter than anybody in your school or class because you know a couple of things they don't, right? So.
But it's also an interesting sentiment.
Imagine, so sorry, Rico, but imagine you're at the school studying, I don't know, maybe physics or maths, and your teacher is saying you are not a mathematician or something like that.
Go away,
go away, motherfucker.
Yeah, but that's a good point, though, Alvaro.
That's a good point, actually.
That's a good point because there was a stand-up that I just saw a couple of weeks ago where this guy said, like, can you imagine these people who like math? And they didn't come to, let's say, a tenure in a professorship or whatever, or they didn't go to a research lab or whatever. They're not successful at being a mathematician on a high level. And they go, okay, I have to go teach now. And then you're like, because that's always been like, oh, if you can't do, you teach. It's like, oh, come on. It's so ridiculous. But it is, like in a sense that your point, Alvaro, was like, you have these kids there and you ask the teacher, so I'm going to teach them math, like all these kids. As like, and they say, yeah, you're going to teach them math. And they want to learn math? And they're like, no, nobody wants to learn math, but you're going to teach them. Like, it's like, fine. So in a sense, I would like to be in a situation where I would be a teacher of magic in a school where I would have to teach everybody, and just, but that would be a very difficult challenge for me, definitely, to not kick everybody out or just get frustrated.
How alone do you feel? Like, oh, you have to teach these kids magic. Okay, do they want to learn magic? No one wants to learn magic. I wanted to learn magic.
Exactly, yeah. Almost feeling like a theoretical mathematician, when you're a magician. It's like, dude, nobody wants to learn this so deep, man. Like, what are you talking? Just show me a cool trick. What are you doing? But yeah, look, I believe passionately, that I at least want to start with you guys doing this invisible practice, or with me doing what I'm doing. and hopefully anybody else will start to have their own projects and ideas how to share magic around them, around their community, or that we would get like, if I do anything, I want to at least plant a seed, of this thinking in the modern times, maybe in my community at least, if not worldwide. Hopefully it will spread out, and then people will, not because like you said a lot before, like most people like will come to a point, or you said it, Rico, sorry, when they start knowing something about it, and this is that, okay, and then there's like, okay, I would never do that, or they would like respect it so much more in a sense where they, I want the whole world at least to get so much saturation of magic that they're exposed to it either by performing or being learning or knowing a little bit behind what is going on, that they would be able to, all the public would go and just really enjoy the show, because it's more about them for me. Like when I say like even close-up gigs, when I see somebody going too much, like not being in the moment, just trying to catch me, I'm like, sometimes even go and stop in the middle and say, dude, you're not enjoying the movie, what are you doing? Like trying to like correlate this between maybe after the performance, or sometimes between, with little jokes, in the sense of like, dude, like, are you kidding me? You know you're watching a movie right now, do you? Right? But it's just a live performance of something that's not supposed to happen, and it's like, and if you're trying to tell me that you're watching a movie with all these after effects and everything, and you're watching and you're trying to figure out how the hell did they do all that stuff, that you're actually watching a movie and having a meaningful experience through it, you're fooling yourself, right? And no pun intended. But there's a good distinction of, I don't know who said it exactly, that it's not about suspension of disbelief like in theater, but it's unwilling suspension of disbelief when we have to kind of make them, they don't want to let go, they want to figure it out, but then it's like, it's so impossible, they're like, oh man, I have to let go, but in the sense, most people won't do that, especially if you're just at a party or whatever, and you just come up and they want to be entertained, but then their mind will start working when they're entertained and they're fooled heavily, and you see their mind starting working. Those are moments for me that I choose to sometimes interrupt my close-up gig and have a talk with them, or just short little interaction back and forth of either calming them down if they're freaking out because they believe in it too much, or if they're too skeptical or whatever. From both sides, I try to bring it in a sense of, to do this. It's an art form. It's a skill I've attained. A lot of work is gone behind it, and I'm glad you appreciate it. And if you want to learn more, pick me up. I don't do this at my gigs, but I'm teaching as well. So in the last year or two, I haven't performed that much, so I haven't had many chances. But I realized those performances that I had, close up and festivals and gigs, was like, I started realizing that I started interrupting a little bit more to let the people know that you can learn as well, but not easy. If you want to learn with me, I'm going to give you hell, or you should have hell learning any skill, you have to go through, so magic is no different, although it's a special craft.
So regarding that, if someone sees you do a routine, right? And then after the routine, they tell you exactly how it works. Right, like they didn't see it, but they'd say, well, you did this and this, so I think you did this and this, right? And it's exactly how you did the routine. What do you do?
Well, and that, look, if you're performing, I wouldn't put too much attention to it. It can ruin the moment of somebody going back and explaining the whole thing. But if they hit the nail on it afterwards or whatever, and if they want to talk about it, I would say, look, you've hit the nail on the head there. There's a lot more to it, I would say. But in essence, you've got it. So I would tell them, like, if they've got it, I would just like look, and I wouldn't go into like why they've gotten it or whatever, and that it works this way, that way. But if they're close to it, like, that's pretty good, man. Yeah, that's almost like how I did it. Not exactly, but like just brush it away. Don't put too much attention. But
I don't mean when someone is heckling you when you're doing something for the friends and you're like producing cards, like, hey, come back from your hand, like they just like whatever. But I mean more like you showed someone something like, for example, the battle trick. Let's say this, and then afterward they would say, well, actually, I think when you first showed me the cards, you stole it back into the deck, and then you pretended to show me 5 cards, but there were actually 4, and that was always in the deck.
dude, if it goes that far, I would definitely think this guy has studied magic before, or I failed enormously somehow. Like if you picture that, like the way you now painted it, there's only two solutions there. This guy is really attentive. He has some kind of problem with too much attention or understanding the world around him, or he studied magic, or just dude, you failed. You made it obvious what you did. Like, so I would look at myself definitely a lot of times if something is, let's say, oh, there was something there. Even those little things, seeing a secret coin is like, although they think now everything is explained because they're laymen, I would definitely go back and say, oh, damn, I fucked up. You know, they shouldn't have seen that. How can I, you know, make that better and the angles, and maybe not do in that setting that specific trick because I
but
cannot
I'm
cover it.
still saying like in a scenario where someone saw nothing, because there have been points, like not the
Yeah,
middle trick, but
yeah,
there
I
have been
agree.
points in my magic career where I just had someone who was really smart and who said, "No, I think you did like you said, I didn't see anything, but what I think you did is this and this, but not specifically like you started back, but what I think you did is when you showed us those cards, the card wasn't there anymore and it was already
Okay,
there."
yeah. Look, that specific case, if they're like I said, don't, if you're in the middle of an actual performance and you're getting a gig or whatever, don't put attention to it too much. Say, yeah, that good job, man. That was like, you should be a magician. Like, or if they're really being a heckler, you just ask them to do a trick or whatever. They will always bow down. You're like, whatever. So in that sense, don't stress about it. You know, like failure and getting people who are, or even if you don't fail and everything goes right, people have all sorts of different reactions to moments of
True.
astonishment and not understanding something. They will either say they do know, they might actually come up with a reasonable explanation, you know, and it's all fine. It's all good. You're not there to be,
Exactly.
uh, you know, you're not there to make fool of them. You're not there to fool them. I hate this expression anyway. It's like, although, you know, it's understandable why, but it's like, it goes into the psyche of people, you know, like if you stop using certain words, like we had this conversation, Rico, that in the 1950s, the gynecologist manual, like actual doctor's manual for the female genitalia, did not have anything else written on it but vagina, right? They left out the clitoris, they left out all the fucking parts, they left everything out and just called it medically vagina. And because vagina is actually the penetration area, right? Because in that sense, they were telling women and the public that the vagina is only for making babies, not for pleasure, right? Because all other parts can have like all sorts of, you know. But that's what I wanted to say. Like if you take out words from people, from the vocabulary, it can have a certain effect. And at the same time, if you put in words, and if you put in words in there, they can start like, yeah, opening up in the sense, yeah.
Of course, because words are only there to describe mental concepts.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it makes the concept much harder to describe because the moment that you usually describe something, it's not the thing that you were initially doing or thinking about.
Yeah, or describe love for me, right? Like, so what are you talking about? Like, you can feel it, like, yeah.
There's something else as well that Eric made said when he was on Full As performing. I
Oh,
think
this is really
it was
Yeah, I
Johnny
remember.
Thompson
I remember
about,
that.
you know, when a lay person, you know, thinks
Exactly.
that he has discovered something about the secret.
Like
It can be
10% of
like
it.
the 10% of the secret. He
Yeah,
thinks he has discovered everything, you know. But
exactly.
when a magician doesn't know, you know, like the 10% of the secret, and he knows the rest of the secret, he thinks that he has been fooled.
And he
Okay.
feels it. He feels it. Yeah, yeah, feels it. He's
Yeah.
full. Yeah.
At all. Okay.
Mm.
So Tamari says another thing very interesting. You know, if you like cats or if you love cats, you can go to your friend's house to stay a little bit with his cat,
I don't have cats.
and and then you can and then you can buy a book about cats, and then you can maybe buy a cat or adopt a cat, and then you can spend more time with the cat and maybe study a degree on vet or whatever. And then if you want to know more about the cat, you have to open the cat and study the cat, you know. inside, the system and everything, but the cat isn't going to be alive. You're going to have a dead cat. This is the same with magic,
Mm,
so
that's a
Tamari
very
says,
good analogy.
yeah, Tamari says that because uh, at one point we have to stop like negotiating with the spectator. In my opinion, this is like with terrorists. I would never negotiate with terrorists. The same with the spectator. This is my proposal. You can accept it or not, but I'm not going to negotiate with you. This is my job. If you don't want to, if you don't like it, or it's
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah,
problem, not mine.
yeah, yeah.
So
But at the same time, I think that's it's a very important conversation to have, right? Because very often, like when people start in magic, they're like, "Yeah, but what do you do when someone says to you, oh, I know how you did it,' and they explain you exactly the way you did it?" And then usually the answer is, "Oh, then you didn't do it right, and they saw what you did." But
Mm,
not always. There's just some
not
different ways.
always.
Don't underestimate your audience. And I
Yeah.
think if there's someone like that, like at least what I personally do is I just take them aside and I tell them, "Look, you're completely correct. Like I'm really amazed in how you did it. You're right, man. You cracked it. But just don't tell them because they're still believing in this thing. And if they
y-
don't have it right, I just tell them, no, that's not how it works. Sorry.
yeah, yeah,
Or
but
even,
yeah, but
or could you say that you could even like because you're not going to explain it anyway, and they didn't probably catch more than 10% of anything, that you can just say, nah, no, that's not the way I did it, even though
No,
it
but
is the way you did
usually
it.
usually the better answer to this question when they ask it is, I don't think you want to know. And then they say,
Ah,
no, you're right. I don't really.
yeah,
yeah,
but guys, I think there's something in the middle. For example, if you have a date and you have for example, some standards. For example, uh, I can feel that I think that someone is attractive, but when this person opens her mouth for me, it's like, oh my god, I don't want to see you anymore. Like it's like, it happens to me all the time. If it doesn't happens to me, and I get the date and I'm going to get ready, I think I'm going to look very nice with this, for example, shirt and using this perfume or wearing these glasses, whatever. It can be a mistake. It's always a little possibility of mistake. Maybe this person doesn't like it or whatever. But if everything goes very well and at the end of the night we kiss each other, in my mind there is not going to be a possibility of opening my eyes during the kiss. Do you know what I mean? So in my opinion, it is the same. So uh, if I decide to do, for example, in a show, I think no one is going to tell you this, and if someone tells you
Oh
this,
no.
you should have had, enough opportunities to conduct this, to direction this
Of
person,
course.
like with corrections, or try to handle the situation, and in a
Yeah,
in a
yeah, exactly.
very
Yeah.
in a very informal situation, you should have like enough, I don't know, tools to know if it's a good moment, a good person to do magic, and what kind of magic to do. And if it happens and the person open her eyes or his eyes during the kiss, then this is not the person. So the best thing is like, okay, I thought it was a good thing, but it isn't.
I
So
thought I thought we had a good thing going. So now I see that you're looking at creepily in my eyes while I'm kissing you. So
yeah.
go away.
Yeah.
I like
Well,
it. I like.
the thing, it isn't, if in my opinion, the point, it isn't about if he's right or not. The
Yeah,
point is like
breaking
I
that
think
little.
I think it doesn't matter if you're right or not. The thing is, I try to transmit you my inner world or whatever, and we didn't match at all about this or whatever. Yeah, it can be, or it could be, but I think it would be
Yeah,
like difficult,
it
whatever.
it could be that Rico is mentioning that, like that when you're thinking about these specific cases, that most of the time, at least in my experience, it would happen in very informal settings,
Very
like
informal, like not
very
formal at
informal.
all.
Yeah, once like because like you said, Alvaro, once you're like and when you're performing, like you're not gonna let interruptions like that. Like then somebody might say something, but to me, like I've never been interrupted that way in a sense when I was really in the mode of like a professional performance, and somebody might say something, it just goes by. I'm actually going to the next day. I might wink at them and say whatever, you know, and yeah, good, let's go. You take a car and just go towards them and have them do something, you know, like interact with them immediately, and it's just like it just flows. But because my style is sometimes when even on professional gigs it's very conversational. I try to bring it down to an informal setting, but not so far that you would get interruptions in the sense of challenges or whatever. You try to guide that. But yeah, like the question that you posed, a lot of magicians will come to it in the beginning for sure, especially because you're always doing very informal performances, and then to people who know you, and it's like the worst conducting environment for for magic, right? Beginner, and then people who know you, they know how
But
you act.
also,
They know
but also at the same time the best, because it's much
yeah,
less harsh when you fail.
if
And
you have
then
if you have people who are then willing to actually give you, like, not just say I saw it and walk away, and help you with what and how and where they saw it, and
it also
you
depends
know.
on the person, of course, because if someone sees it, you can better have, like, personally, there are still some people like, I recently met a friend of the guy I told you about that he has a feeling for magic back,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like one of the sharpest people I ever met, and like he can see, like, if there's less than a millimeter difference between the two cards, he can see when it's a double left and shit like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I actually really like doing magic for him, because he tells me, well, right there I didn't see what you did, but my perception saw that something wasn't as it
something
should
was
be.
off. Yeah,
Something was a bit off. And I really like doing magic for those people, because it's very rare that someone actually tells you that,
yeah.
or
Mm-hmm.
that someone gets to consciously perceive that in the moment. So I think in that moment, that, like, to get better, he's a great audience to do informal stuff one on one. But he's also socially aware enough that if he were to be in a show, he wouldn't say anything, right? Because
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
show, if I do a close-up gig or a stage gig, I don't want anyone to get in the audience, because he might ruin the experience for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, like, in person, I really love those people. And like, my parents used to be the same. When I started with
Mm-hmm.
magic, they were like, "Oh yeah, we saw you. What did you do? Yeah, this and this. Okay." So then I know what to work on, what to.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say something that maybe is going to, well, fuck,
Go for
I'm
it.
gonna
Go,
say it.
go, just
Go
do
for
it.
it.
I'm gonna say it. Like, uh, I had like many experiences, because I used to perform theater. I used to be in to have him like play theaters in
Mm-hmm.
groups in Seville, in Spain, in London as well. And in theater groups, they are like very open people, and they are like very expressive, and like they want to be like the protagonist all the time, or even comics people as well, comic people. When you are doing magic, they are trying to be the protagonist, even when you are doing magic. And there is something like, I was trying to communicate my inner world, my story. I didn't want to do magic. I mean, they were like, come on, please do magic. I said, okay, this is going to last like 3 minutes, and then I'm gonna get out of here. But for these 3 minutes, just please shut the fuck up, okay? Because I know you can't sip your mouth, and you have to talk all the time. And this person was like, blah, 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 blah. So this person was like, you were doing this, and this person was like, fucking experience for the rest of the people, and what I told him was like, look, I don't care if you suffer bullying at a school, when you were
Yeah,
a
yeah.
child, so the thing is like, it isn't my problem if this person wants to be focused on the secret. It
Mm-hmm.
isn't
Mm-hmm.
my problem, it's like, mm, I mean,
Yeah,
if you don't like
in the
romantic,
moment you
if
can't
yeah, if you don't like romantic movies, it isn't the
don't watch them.
director of the movies fault. I mean, it's like, sorry,
Exactly.
you don't like it, accept it, but you don't have to give your opinion. No one ask you about your opinion, you know.
Yeah. And that's why I always
Mm.
like thinking people who watch movies, they're like, I'm a very big, let's say, filmophile, or what they call it. Like, I'm kind of obsessed with watching stuff all the time and listening or whatnot. But it's like, hear people like going to a blockbuster movie, Spider-Man movie, and then complaining about character development. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you went to watch a movie, like you cannot like. And also, like in magic, if people were aware, like there's so many different types of magicians that you can. Oh, I don't like this type of magic, but I like that type of magic. So you can't just say I don't like magic in general if you didn't even haven't seen. But that's also, like you said, it's not your problem, and it's also not their fault. They might have had a terrible experience with a magician. They might have been traumatized by
Mm.
something or whatever. You know, it's like you can't
But that's
take it
that's one
personal.
of the difficult things because music, for example, or movies are so widely available that when we see,
Mm-hmm.
even if we go to a bar and we see a bad musician or something we don't like, we don't say I hate
Mm-hmm.
music. Just he was not a great musician or I didn't like his
Mm-hmm.
style of music.
Mm-hmm.
But in Magic, we don't. It's not so widely available. Not in most countries. In Spain, they're very lucky with that. That
Mm-hmm.
here, like if you were, well, I'll get back to that. If you were to watch, for example, like TV, like Mindfuck or Hans Kazan, there's one thing. If you don't like that style, well, that you don't like Magic. And I even had people saying, "Oh, I thought I didn't like Magic because I watched that and I didn't like it so much." But
Uh,
what you did was really cool. I think I like Magic now, and it's like, because they think that that's Magic and not realizing how wide the scope is. And
yeah,
the
yeah. But
reason why I made
I always wonder whose fault it is. You know, like I want
well,
to.
it's
It's not the fault, but
multiple faults, I guess, but like the
mm,
reason why I made the comment of why in Spain they're in some way lucky is because in Spain, for example, Tamariz is very big, and I think looking at it, it's one of the few countries that actually has a really good master magician who is also famous. Where in the Netherlands, very
mm-hmm.
often those people they disappear
Yeah.
into forgetfulness.
Yeah, but I think we were lucky for a long time, and then look, the other day I was my sister had a concert, and
Mm-hmm.
some people, my other sister introduced me some of her students on singing.
Mm-hmm.
They were like 50 years old or something like that, so they were like, like adults,
Mm-hmm.
and they knew Tamariz, and of course Tamariz is famous in Spain, but some of them was enjoying, like magic videos on YouTube as well. And there are like new famous magicians in Spain, but they are like a dynamo or this kind of magicians on TV. Okay, I'm not judging. I'm just saying comparing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
doing the same kind of format on TV. And they had some doubts about the magic that Tamar used to do on TV, because for them magic was magic. There wasn't a difference between magic. There wasn't a difference between. So they were asking
Mm-hmm.
like, so is it real? And I said, look, what Tamaris did was like more honest than what people do that. So is it different? And I said, oh, totally different. So
No.
so they were, oh, okay, nice. Yeah, he was awesome. Tamaris was the greatest. And I said, yeah, of course he was.
Yeah, that's I'm kind of lucky also myself living with my wife is a composer, contemporary composer, pushing kind of boundaries of what music is and like what is even like supposed to be music and sounds and we have this debate a lot of times where I'm trying to push her. You could put these ideas. I'd say if you just commercialize it a bit more, you would influence more people to open up their ears. And it's like no, so intellect like people like Petra is like they have different backing, like even financially, and the people who back them know that there's no commercial value in what they're doing, but they have like funds and support from the government, from all different artistic organizations, and then they apply for it and they get money from there because the tickets are not gonna come back, like that you're gonna be able to pay everybody. So it's like a weird little world where I'm thinking like how these ideas are not so much more spread out. It's like some of the ideas are revolutionary to me, or like even though I couldn't say I like the music, like or that I would go feel it, but it's music that you experience. It's like you feel certain things, and that's what she's doing. but it's like, I would wish that people would be more open, you know, that she would get more recognition, and she's been like on this path of getting recognition from composing in the societies, and still there's no commercial value. Like, you know, it's just about the grants and the commissions, and it's like, oh, I'm trying to, like, you know, she's pushing me to be more like her, because I really inspired how she's like organized and very motivated and also very ambitious. But I'm like, sometimes I'm very much more populistic. I like to be with people. I like to have a community. And she's kind of like, oh, if I try to interact with too many people, it's going to disturb her process of what she's doing. So it's like, you know, that little balance of how are you going to get this out to the people if you're just in your own world and you're just in that little circle of experts who are into that thing that you're doing.
Yeah, I know.
And so it's like, sometimes I feel like this when we're talking about Magic So Deep is like, and that we're going so deep that we lose people, you know, in a sense of, yeah, magic is fun. It's like, oh, it should be like, yeah, this, that. Yeah, it is. It's like music is also for fun. And it's like, for most people have music for dancing or just in the background or to relax or whatever. But then you have music like Petra's music, where it's like, you go there, you're like, what the hell is going on? What is this? And then you're like, you have this experience of leaves falling around, the surround sound, the piano is outside the room somewhere, like it's far away. And it's like, all these things that you can't even put on a recording, you know, you have to be there to experience it. So it's like, yeah, it's I'm struggling in a sense of like, I would just like to kick the world in the ass and have everybody turn this way, you know, towards her or us or whatever, and try to be more, not just into instant gratification and just, you know, or just being in the moment, trying to give time for certain things, you know, like routines that Rico was mentioning on the recent podcast that you guys had of, you know, not being able to perform certain things because they're so long, or they need time to set up, you need a certain audience for it and whatnot, and you feel frustrated because you're practicing this so much and you want to share it and there's no audience for it, you know, or it's just a tiny bit of the audience, you know. So yeah, we have to just keep doing it, just keep doing, you know, what we like and sharing our passions, doing what we're doing now and putting it out in the ether. You know who had a really beautiful, I want to just slowly, because I see it's already, we're doing an hour of this.
Yeah, this
we want to do some promotion.
This is a good way to end.
Good way to end. Should we just mention how did you want to do this? Because I can make like a code
just mention it.
Yeah, so Rico has a project with Aljaž Originals, with my little small production brand or whatever we're doing. That is a beautiful project that not enough people have even looked at and has gotten not too many attention, which is called Reincarnated, which reads really well, but pronounces terribly.
What? No, it's called Sophisticated.
No, yeah, Reincarnated, exactly. The best plug ever. But it's one of the projects I mentioned also to Fritz in the podcast. If you like McDonald's Aces, or any kind of Ace assembly routine, I did the original McDonald's Aces for many years. Stopped doing it. I was kind of out of it, and when Rico showed me his version, I have a packet here just for that trick, because I'm still doing it now and then, especially when I find myself in a situation that I can do it. So I would recommend everybody checking out that. But we are going to give one away, right, Rico?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we're going to give one away. What do they have to do? We haven't even thought about. What do people have to do for a giveaway?
I'll just put it on Instagram, but they got to follow Invisible Practice, follow Aljaž Originals.
Yes.
And
yeah, I will. You know what? We can do it like this. We can just give it like for. I don't know if you guys want to do it like that, but I kind of like this kind of promotion where they have to tag people, at least 2, and then if they tag 2 people, they're in the pool.
Okay, sure,
you know,
and we do that. We just
something like that.
We'll just we'll just make
find a unicorn, a baby, and make a potion.
Go back in time to kill Hitler. If you can manage to do that, you win all of it.
Yeah, don't forget the witches' war.
You win the whole Aljaž store if you go back in time.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna give Rico the code that you can use on the website, and get it downloaded that way.
But the code, what do you mean? Do you mean like a discount code? You want to give
Yeah,
people a
discount code. Yeah, just discount code. Yeah, I have that usually for giveaways or for friends or.
Cool, cool. So at the end of the podcast, we're gonna put the discount code as well. You'll see the giveaway on Instagram soon because we just hit 1,000 followers, which were
congratulations,
finally...
by the way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're finally done with that, so we can focus on some other shit. But yeah, we're gonna let you know.
Music.
Music. We're gonna be in a different kind of a visible practice. We're gonna be visible practice, audible practice. That's what
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
And that being said, guys, if you enjoyed the podcast, please give us a like, subscribe, let us know what you think, share it around with your friends. And if you want to hear more podcasts, you can subscribe to us on Patreon. Talk to you guys later.
If you don't like it, do it the same. Other
Dislike.
people is going to join. Fuck them, you know.
Yeah, just if you don't like it, just dislike the video and tell your enemies. Maybe they'll like. See you guys
Maybe
later.
don't like it. Yeah.